Hi friends, Allison here, dropping in to share another scrapbook layout with you. Today is a treat because I have a mixed media layout that I wanted to share with you, and it's a double-paged mixed media layout as well. I'm super excited about sharing it with you, and I hope you enjoy it and find it inspiring. Thank you so much for returning to my channel again, and if you are new, thank you so much for subscribing. I'm really excited that you're here and you're joining my crafty journey with me. So to start this layout, I pulled out my Close to My Heart watercolor paints, and I used the blue to create kind of like a wave pattern along the bottom edge of both 12 by 12 sheets of paper. I actually end up trimming them down off camera so that they're 1/4 of an inch smaller on two sides, so that I can mat it to another sheet of cardstock. And I think I used a neutral color, like a brown cardstock, to mat it to. Now, inspiration hit when I started this layout, and I decided to add some hand stitching to the wave pattern that I created with my watercolor paints. So here you can see me starting off my stitching. I am channeling my inner Allison Davis doing this. I love the texture that it adds, and it's so super simple to do. I just wanted to show you how I attach the thread to my layouts. I don't tie knots in the thread like you would if you were regularly stitching or even doing a cross stitch. Instead, I just secure the loose thread, you can see me doing it right now, to the back of the layout with some washi tape. That way it doesn't add too much bulk to your layout. So if you're going to mat it to another sheet of paper, it's not bumpy. And actually usually what I do before I start the hand stitching is use a pencil to draw out the lines or the shape, whatever it is that I want to hand stitch. And then I use a paper piecing tool to create the dots in it and then go along it afterwards with my stitching. And then afterwards I just erase whatever pencil lines are still left. I don't like to erase on watercolor so much because I find that it removes the color from the paper. I find the watercolor is really chalky, and so it just rubs off when you erase on the paper. So if you can avoid doing that, that is recommended. I try not to do it as well, but sometimes it just happens. So the layout that I'm sharing today is about my most favorite flower ever, which is orchids. And I found an orchid image in my Cricut library, and I made a whole bunch of them because my plan was to scatter them across the wave pattern along the bottom of the page. And I just think it looks pretty. And I also decided to scatter some other florals and leaves throughout the wave pattern as well. These leaves that I have right now that I'm kind of working with, I decided to actually back it with pattern paper so that the watercolor didn't show through. I didn't want the blue to show through behind the green, so I matted it with some other different green scrap papers that I had in my stash. They are retired Close to My Heart papers. Here you can see me backing them right now. All I did to do that was trace the shape out with the pencil onto the back side of the paper that I wanted to use, and then I cut them out and traced the rest of them onto the other papers, so that all I had to do in the end was cut them all out and then glue them. And then any pieces of paper that are sticking out from behind it after I was done, just trim those off and away you go. I found this the quickest and the easiest way to back those two cut files with pattern paper. This isn't something that I do very often because I find backing cut files to be really finicky, and it's not my most favorite thing to do, quite honestly. But in this instance, I just felt like it needed a little something extra. So I put my feelings about it to the side and backed it with pattern paper. And I think it looks fantastic. I really like the way that it looks, and it achieved the goal that I had wanted so that the watercolor doesn't show through. So there is the finished product, and as you can see, I'm just trimming off the pieces that are peeking out from behind it so that everything is flush to the cut file. And then in the little blank spots that are left on the layout, that's where I place those. There's 4 altogether, but the 2 that I'm working on got layered behind the little sign that says bloom. And then I put the title there as well. That was all done off camera so that I could get to the second page and speed up the process a little bit so that you're not sitting here forever. I did back all 3 photos, both photos in the end, because these 2 photos are the same. So I just layered them over top of each other. They were matted to white cardstock, and then I trimmed them down as well so that there's a little white border around each. For this particular set of pictures, I actually took my scissors afterwards and trimmed it down even further because I didn't want such a thick white border around it. I popped them up with some foam squares just for a little bit of dimension, and then I carry on the orchids in the wave along the bottom as well. On this page, this is page 2, my journaling is going to be added as well. It'll be in the very bottom right hand corner of the layout underneath all the orchids. There are some other little flowers there that I sprinkle throughout as well, just for a little bit of interest. And also the centers of my orchids and then the little pink flowers were filled in with a Close to My Heart raspberry shimmer brush, just to give it a little bit of sparkle. I will include all the products that I used to create this layout in the description box below. I invite you to come check out my Close to My Heart website if you so choose. I am a Close to My Heart maker. We're called makers now, not consultants. Basically, I am just a hobbyist Close to My Heart consultant, but I'm happy to share my website with you, and if there's anything that you need or want to stock up on, then you have a place to check out if you are inclined to do so. So here I'm just adding the few other little extras. I've got some extra leaves that I cut with my Cricut, a few other flowers. On this page, the hand stitching is easier to see between the flowers than it is on page 1. I added a few too many flowers on page 1, the orchids, so I didn't have as much going on page 2. So that makes the stitching a little bit easier to see. And I'm okay with it being mostly covered up on page 1 because page 2 makes up for that little mistake. I also added just some chipboard Flair from Pinkfresh Studio to my layout as well. I'm going to add the date. I'm using Close to My Heart Toffee ink and just my roller date stamp from Michaels. I'll trim that down and turn it into like a pennant. I'll just dovetail the one end, and then I'll add that to the layout as well with some foam squares. As I was going along creating this layout, you're actually not going to see it because I ended up getting a phone call, and then my daughter took my phone from me, so I never got back to finishing this layout. Recording it, I mean. But I did add some sewing thread to a few places around the layouts as well. You'll see those in the close-ups at the end of this video. And with that, I am pretty well done. This layout was super simple to do, but it packs such a huge punch. I absolutely love this layout and really enjoyed putting it together. If you want to stick around, there are some close-ups coming up at the end of this video, like I just mentioned. So this layout is just about complete. I am going to add the lines for the journaling to my layout. I like to use a pencil and a straight edge ruler to make the lines, and then I go back over it with a journaling pen after I have the lines all marked. And then after that, I just add a few other embellishments to spruce up the page a little bit. I like to use my stickles as enamel dots because I don't have Nuvo drops. I think they work really well to create dots around the page. So I used my goldenrod stickles to do that. And that is pretty well done. I do have close-ups for you at the end of this video. I hope you stick around for those. And I just wanted to thank you again for stopping by and sharing some time with me. I hope this layout has inspired you in some way. Oh, I forgot to mention, I do add a bit of a subtitle underneath the title as well. I stamp out all smiles using Close to My Heart modern typewriter. This is my all-time favorite alpha ever from any company, and I just use my Close to My Heart toffee ink to get that stamped. And I use the same technique as well. I just use a pencil and a straight edge ruler to make a line, and then I add my stamping to that just to make sure that it's all straight. Once again, I have close-ups coming up. Thank you for joining me. I hope this layout inspired you in one way or another. And if you enjoyed it, please make sure you leave a comment or a like. And also, just want to thank all my new subscribers for joining me too. I am so glad that you're here. I will be back again with another process video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.